I'm going to be doing another episode of Lyddie Talks, where today I'm going to be talking about Beauty and the Beast. So basically, I'm going to be comparing the three Disney versions of Beauty and the Beast, starting with the animated film, the 1994 Broadway musical, and the 2017 live-action film. So basically, in this video, I'm just going to be talking about my thoughts and opinions about all these things. It's going to be a very opinionated video, and it's going to be kind of long. I'm just going to warn you about that now, though you can see the time stamp on it and I can't. But I'm just going to be talking about these three things because Beauty and the Beast is my favorite fairy tale. I love Beauty and the Beast so much. It is such a beautiful story and just makes me really, really happy. So I'm just going to talk about these. I just want to give a slight disclaimer. I've never actually seen the musical on Broadway because when I was running on Broadway, I was quite young and I can't afford to go see a show on Broadway, unfortunately. But I have seen two high school productions and I listened to the original Broadway cast recording of the soundtrack quite often. So I'm basing it on the two high school versions I've seen and also on the original versions of the soundtrack. So I'm just going to jump right in because, as I said, this video is going to be quite long. So first, I'm going to be talking about music, and I'll have to excuse the computer. I'm keeping my notes on it because there's a lot to go through. So Beauty and the Beast just has so much amazing music. It is a story that is known for its music. So first, I'm going to be talking about what is my favorite version of each song that is repeated. Whether that be repeated in all three, or there's one song that's repeated in the animated movie and the Broadway musical. So I'm just going to go through those in order and just kind of talk about which one's my favorite and why. So first with Belle, my favorite version of Belle is the animated version. I just think it's so whimsical and fun, and I just love how natural it sounds. Because the other two are just so theatrical, and I'm not, I love theatrical sounds, don't get me wrong, but I think for that song, having it sound a bit more natural is better. So I just really like the animated version of that song best, and I just love the way it magically opens up the story in a way that I don't really feel like the other two do. So next is the reprise of Belle, and my favorite of that is by far the live action version, and I knew it 2 seconds in that it was going to be my favorite when I saw the movie, just by Belle's after Gaston's proposal. It is spot on. I love it. I just think that Emma Watson nailed the Belle reprise, so definitely the live action. Am I saying reprise right? I don't actually know how to pronounce that word, so I'm just kind of guessing. The next song is Gaston, and my favorite version of it is the Broadway version, and I'm going to be honest, this is very largely based on the choreography. The choreography for the Broadway version of Gaston is incredible. You should go look up a video of it on YouTube if you've never seen it, because it is amazing. And I also just love the original Gaston on Broadway's voice so much. It is so good, and it just fits Gaston very well in a way that I don't think that Luke Evans quite got to. So I really appreciate that. So the next is Be Our Guest, and my favorite version of that is also the Broadway version, and honestly it's just because that Lumiere has the best singing voice. There's really nothing else to it, though seeing it on stage is also really, really cool. Just with the choreography, and this is a song that should be theatrical, and the musical nails it, and I just love it. Next is Something There, and this was the hardest one for me to pick my favorite for, and I think I'm gonna have to go with the live action version because I like the lightness and airiness of it that just really fits the tone of that song so well. Because they definitely changed the music to it a little bit, and I thought it was brilliant. And I just think that how light it was very much fit kind of the delicate change of their relationship that was happening in that scene. So I just think that the live action version probably interpreted where they were the best. So I'm probably gonna have to go with that one, but Something There is one of my favorite songs in Beauty and the Beast. And yeah, it's hard to choose because I love all three versions so much. So next, oh, I missed one note. Also, the Broadway version like adds in dialogue and it cuts up the song a lot and it's really annoying. So that made the decision slightly easier. Next is Human Again, which is in both the animated and the Broadway versions, and my favorite version of this is the Broadway version. I think that it just is done better. I'm more used to it, honestly, because I listen to it more often than I listen to the animated version. And also, I just love that Cogsworth's characterization is kind of more emphasized in the Broadway version than in the animated version. And if you didn't know, Cogsworth is one of my all-time favorite all-time favorite fictional characters. So anything that ups Cogsworth's characterization is great by me. Okay, so two more. First, Beauty and the Beast, and I think this is a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I like the live-action version the best. I thought that Emma Thompson nailed it. I thought it was so beautiful. Like, it's definitely, the animated one is actually probably my least favorite. And it's nothing against Angela Lansbury, like, it's brilliant, they all are, but like, the song has so much more magic for me now that I've heard multiple versions of it, and yet again with like the airiness of it that all the songs had in the new version is just really beautiful. And last but not least, and this is the easiest one for me, the Mob song. By far, my favorite version of the Mob song is the one in the animated movie. Like, I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant here. I don't like that song in either of the other ones. Like, it's okay in the musical. I hated it in the live action movie so much. I just, whatever the heck they did with it just did not work. The way they like made it, like, it didn't sound like a Mob song. I don't even know how to describe it. It just didn't work at all. So, and the Broadway version was like so theatrical. Yet again, it's theater. I get that it's going to be theatrical, but it was so theatrical it didn't really sound like a Mob song anymore as much. And in the animated version, it's a Mob song, it's called the Mob song, it sounds like a Mob song, and it's great. So definitely the animated version, it's the only version of the song I really, really enjoy. And I like that song. It's you know, cool. So my last note on the repeated songs, and I've already alluded to it, is in the live action movie, I thought it was a very interesting and appreciated, at least by me, interpretive choice to like lighten all of the songs. Like, all of the songs in the live action movie are like lighter and airier than they were in the other two versions, and I thought that was really interesting, like that they had that tone, which is interesting because it also I would say it's probably the darkest of the three interpretations that Disney made, but the music is light and airy, and for some songs it worked really, really, really well. And as I already said, with the Mob song and with Gaston as well, it just didn't work. So there's definitely, like, it didn't fully work, but I understand why they did it across the board, and I think it was a really cool interpretive choice, and I'm a fan of that. So you go, Disney. I really liked that. This is so interesting was that each new version has new songs. And originally when I heard that they were making a live action version, I was like, they better use the Broadway songs, because I love the Broadway songs so much. And there's a lot of new songs, because, you know, there's the Broadway musical, and then there's the 3 new songs in the live action version. So there's like a lot of songs in this story. So I'm just gonna kind of go through the highlights, and honestly the highlights is most of the songs, but I'm just gonna talk about what I think they add. And I'm really sorry, I'm definitely gonna have to look for my computer for this, because there's, as I said, there's a lot of them, and I chose most of them because so many of them are just so brilliant. So first is No Matter What. It is in the Broadway version, and it is a duet between Belle and Maurice. And I just love that they added the song right toward the beginning of the show to just show Belle and Maurice's relationship. They had a really beautiful father-daughter relationship in the musical that is not shown in either film. Like, they allude to, like, in the animated film, they show them having a good relationship. In the live-action film, their relationship's kind of rocky. And in the Broadway musical, they really, really flesh out that father-daughter relationship, and I really like that. And this song was such a beautiful way to do it. And it demonstrates, like, they see that each other is flawed, but they love them, their family, and they're going to stick together. So I thought that was really beautiful. The next few are all from the Broadway one, so I'll just, like, say when it's not anymore. So the next one is Me. It's sung by Gaston. It is his proposal to Belle, and let me tell you, this is one of the funniest songs ever. If you've never heard this song, you should just listen to it. It's 99% about Gaston and like 1% kind of ish about Belle. And it's just so fun to sing along. It is so fun to listen to. It is just a really, really fun song. And the fact that his proposal is done in this way, and it's like, me. Like, it's called Me. The song is literally called Me. And when he's asking someone to marry him, it really shows just how egocentric he is. And I think it was a really great way to expand his character. Well, not really expand, but just like kind of show just how awful he is. And I really appreciate the song. It's hilarious, so you should definitely listen to it. The next is Home, and this is sung by Belle. And this song means so much to me. This song is sung right after she goes to the castle and she's in her room and she's singing about just how she's trapped and how she wants adventure, but like she doesn't know if she's ever going to be able to attain it. And it's just such a beautiful song, and as I said, it really means a lot to me personally. I actually sang this song in a high school concert for my senior year of high school, and it was just like kind of like the perfect time to sing this type of song, because a lot of it, the concept of the song is where is home, and it's just so beautiful, and I really love it. And Susan Egan, who is the original Belle on Broadway, also the voice of Megara in Hercules, she has a brilliant voice. It's absolutely amazing, and it's especially showcased in this song. If you are only familiar with Susan Egan as Meg, you have not heard anything. Her voice is so much better than, I won't say I'm in Love Demonstrates, and I'm not saying that it's bad in that one, but it is so amazing. Next is If I Can't Love Her. This is a song about the Beast trying to figure out what his feelings are for Belle, and also like realizing his mortality. I'm pretty sure he sings it right after she runs away, right before the wolf attack. It's been quite a while since I've seen a production of it, as in I was still in high school and I have now graduated from college, so it's been a while. But he sings another song earlier, and it just like really shows the depth of his character, and I just really appreciate that. So it's really, oh yeah, and it just shows his despair within the curse, and it's like beautiful but haunting, and I love it. So next is Days in the Sun, which is in a live action movie, and this song it's the first part of the live action movie that made me cry. I cried 3 times during the live action movie. But it really touched me. I loved this song, and just seeing how the Beast was as a child, singing over his mother, and it was stunning. It's so good. And I think this is a really unpopular opinion. I think a lot of people don't like Days in the Sun, but I really adore it. I just think it's precious, especially the beginning of it. Oh goodness, I love this song. Next is Maison de Lune. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It is from the Broadway version, and this song is kind of pointless, but I love it. It is sung between Gaston Lefou and the guy who runs the asylum. I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not even going to try to. And it's about their plot with Maurice, and as I said, it's kind of a pointless song, but I mean, guys, it's 3 Broadway men singing together. Can we please have more of this? Like, their harmonies are so good, and it's like, musically, it's beautiful. It's haunting. It's a creepy song, but it's so good and terrifying and amazing, and yeah, it's a great song. So next is Evermore from the live action version. This is Beast's song after Belle goes back to save Maurice, and I'm like sitting here about to cry just thinking about it. I cried pretty hard while watching this scene in the movie. I just think it's so beautiful. Yet again, like the Broadway one, If I Can't Love Her, it just kind of heightens the Beast's, give me a second, words. It heightens the Beast characterization. It shows just how much he loves Belle, and it's really beautiful. Like, I want to be loved like the Beast loves Belle, particularly in the live action version, because guys, that Beast is amazing, and it's just so sweet, and I love it. I love him. Like, every time I listen to this song, I tear up a little bit, and I'm not, like, okay, I'm a crier. I cry about a lot of things, but usually they're, like, life things. I don't usually cry too much for fiction, but lately I kind of have been a lot, and, like, this is the first song that, like, every time I've listened to it, I've teared up. So, lastly, is A Change in Me from the Broadway show. This song is the song that Belle sings to Maurice when when they're at their house after she saves him, but before the mob comes. And it is her chronicling just how much she has changed with being with the Beast, and getting to know him, and like, she doesn't say this, but like falling in love with him, like this all, it's just this beautiful ballad about it, and I just really love this song too. And like the line that goes, it kind of gets repeated over and over again, is no change of heart, a change in me, and it's just really, 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 really gorgeous. Unfortunately, just a side note, the original version of the song is very, very hard to find. I can find it on YouTube, but it's not on Spotify, much to my chagrin. But it is just a really beautiful song, and it's worth listening to. Even if you can't find Susan Egan's version, you can find other beautiful versions. So I'm just going to quickly share my top 5 favorite Beauty and the Beast songs, all versions. So coming in number 5 is Days in the Sun. Number 4 is Something There, which is the only song that is in the original movie that makes this list. Number 3 is A Change in Me. Number 2 is Home, and those two are very, very close. And number 1 is Evermore. So if you're interested to see how all of these songs like flow together, like with the songs that aren't in the same version, I actually have a Spotify playlist for them. I'm going to link that into the description. Generally speaking, I put the original version of the song in. There's a couple exceptions to that, and I don't have all of the Beast's songs in because Evermore and another one are in the same spot, so I don't have them both. I just put Evermore. But yeah, basically, if you are interested in that, I think it's really fascinating. It's one of my favorite playlists I have, actually. And it's just kind of how they all flow together, and I think it really adds to the story to have all of the songs together. So next, I'm going to be talking about characters, and I'm just going to warn you ahead of time, this is probably the section that has my most unpopular opinions. But we're just going to go on, and we're going to get the unpopular one out of the way first, and that is Belle. So my favorite version of Belle, by far, is the Broadway version of Belle. Her characterization in the Broadway show is brilliant. She has this kindness about her, and also her independence, and those are both explored and developed, and like, she recognizes that she is a flawed human being, and I just think it is absolutely brilliant. I think that she has a very good balance of the kindness and the independence that works very well together, and Belle's kindness is like such an important part of her character for me, so I just really, really appreciated how the Broadway musical developed her, and just developed how she was within herself, and also how she interacted with others. I think that it is done very, very well. She's the most developed in the Broadway show, so she's by far my favorite. Belle. Next is the animated Belle. She's the one who gave us this expectation that she's going to be kind and independent and like a girl who loves reading. Like, definitely that one. Like, so yes, that means that the live action Belle is my least favorite Belle. And I think that this could lead to hate comments, but just, they sacrificed her kindness for her independence in the live action movie. I think both of those are such important parts of her personality, and her kindness just suffered because it got lost in her independence. Like, there was so many things that she said in the live action movie that just kind of made me cringe. Like, after the ball, and like, mild spoilers if you haven't seen it, she and the Beast are talking. He's like, "Are you happy here?" And she's like, "Can you really be happy if you are not free? You're happy. Did you not just like see how much you're enjoying your time with the Beast?" Like, clearly she's happy. Like, yes, she can want to be free still, but like, that doesn't mean that she's not like generally happy where she is. She feels so much safer in the Beast's castle than she does in the town. Like, what the heck? It really bothers me. Because she just, her kindness, like, it's kind of like occasionally is sprinkled in there, like in the beginning with teaching the girl how to read. Like, I really liked that, and I was nervous about this, like, exact issue I have with the live action movie. And then the beginning with the girl, when she was teaching her to read, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm worried for nothing. Maybe her kindness will still be here. Maybe she won't be, like, so fiercely independent that, like, she can't be kind anymore. I was wrong, and I was really disappointed by that. Like, I don't think she's not at all kind, but, like, looking at the live action Belle, I would not, like, say that kindness is one of her top personality traits. And that's a very important personality trait to me. I mean, come on, I'm a Hufflepuff. So, just, yeah, definitely Broadway Belle. So, oh yeah, other thing though, I just kind of felt that she was inconsistent. Like, as I said, like, she was, like, really kind in some moments, like, to the little girl, but then she was also like, I need to be 100% independent. I'm not going to, like, have any sort of sacrifice for you. Like, yes, I get that like, the Beast should not have trapped her there, but, like, when you're falling in love, like, you can't just compromise, people. Compromise. Just, like, I'm not saying that she was wrong to want to be, like, freed. I'm really not. But, like, there were, like, the inconsistencies were just annoying. But also, like, in some ways I thought she was the most human. And this was, like, my favorite part about this Belle, like, her reaction to the library. Like, how she squealed, like, that was beautiful. I loved that. That was one of my favorite moments of the live action movie. Like, so, like, I don't know, there's such a mixed bag with Belle. Like, I don't love her and I don't hate her, I just kind of like her. And that was disappointing to me since she's my favorite. So I'm gonna move on away a little bit from my unpopular opinion and talk about the Beast. So I think that the Beast just gets better and better and better with each new interpretation. In the original film, he just kind of all of a sudden changed into, like, a decent person, and there was really no actual development. He just was kind of all of a sudden nice, and it was annoying. He never really was my favorite character, like, of anything, really. He wasn't my favorite Disney prince or anything, because he just was so, he wasn't flat, like, he changed, but, like, it wasn't developed, and that kind of always has bothered me. So then in the Broadway version, you see from the very beginning he has human emotions, which is just really, really, really cool and important because it helps you to, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It just helps him as a character to have human emotions in the beginning and not just be, like, this mean, awful, terrible thing. He's terrible, of course, but, like, there's definitely a cycle of development. Like, his songs show his human like emotion of despair, and they show that he's developing, like, each song develops him more and more and more. So his development actually, like, goes on an arc instead of, like, just going, like, from here to here. So that is just one reason that he's just so much better. But in this film, he doesn't really in the Broadway version, he doesn't really have much of a background at all, and that kind of just is like, so why is he a terrible person? So anyway, in the live action version, just gonna move on. If you didn't notice, the live action Beast is my favorite. He is so flawlessly developed. He starts off, you understand why he's a terrible person. They go back and explain that. Yet again, you see the human emotions from the beginning, and he just goes through, like, his arc is like kind of like a flat and then up and then like kind of a little down and then up, and like, but it has like a cycle, and it's much more realistic. And his backstory is just one of my favorite aspects of the live action Beauty and the Beast. I really appreciate that. I just love seeing how he went from being like a sweet little boy who just like wanted his mom to be better to horrible to being a wonderful, sensitive, kind, loving man that he is by the end of the film, and that we really see come to like full fruition in Evermore. So I just really appreciate the Beast's development. I think it's a little strange that Belle is like kind of underdeveloped. She never really became a better person. She just was annoying the entire time. I'm sorry, I said I was done with unpopular opinions. Apparently I'm not. I just found it a little ironic though. But anyway, I'm just going to appreciate Dan Stevens' The Beast because he did a great job. Like, the script was amazing and like he nailed it. He was the perfect Beast. So the enchanted objects are like kind of just quick things that I don't need to like develop my thoughts very much, so I'm just kind of going to spitfire them. So Cogsworth is basically the same in all three versions, but I think each version just makes him a little bit better, and adds the fact that he's one of my favorite characters. I especially appreciate how him and Lumiere, their friendship actually makes a bit of sense in the live action film, and like you kind of see like a bond brotherhood type thing there, even though they annoy the crap out of each other, just like real brothers, so I think it works. Lumiere, here is another unpopular opinion. I don't like Lumiere in the animated movie or the Broadway musical. I only like him in the live action version. I really appreciate that they didn't make him super chauvinistic. I thought that he was like the hospitable version of Gaston almost in the original. That's a huge exaggeration, honestly it is, I'm sorry. But I just really don't appreciate him, especially in the musical. He's kind of just like overly sexualized, and I don't appreciate that at all. But I really appreciate that like he has like his like kind of quirky, like he's a bit egocentric, but not like super much so. Like he definitely like cares about others, and that's like that's more consistent because like his romance with the Feather Duster, or whatever the heck her name is, because it's like different in all three, is like actually mature, and like he, what's the word I'm looking for? Like he cherishes her. He isn't just going to go off with some random thing, like she can trust him. So I really appreciate that. I didn't really spitfire that, sorry. Next is the wardrobe. I was really hoping to see more of the musical version of the wardrobe in the live action one. And I didn't hate her in the live action movie. Like, I liked her, but the Broadway version is my favorite because she's hilarious. Like, in the animated movie, she doesn't do anything. She's kind of pointless. In the live action movie, I liked her marriage. I thought that was kind of cool, even though it ruins my Beauty and the Beast OTP. But the Broadway version of the wardrobe just is very wonderful, and I just, yeah, she's hilarious. And her name is Madame de la Grande Bouche, which is Mrs. Big Mouth in French, and I just think that's spot on. So Chip, he is absolutely adorable in all three versions. I think I like him the best in the live action version, which also might be an unpopular opinion, but I just thought his like new lines were really funny, and I appreciated them. Feather Duster, yet again, live action, hands down. She's like not super over sexy. She actually has like character development, like yeah, live action version. And Mrs. Potts, I don't really know. She's basically the same in all three. I think I'm gonna maybe default say the live action just because Emma Thompson plays her, and Emma Thompson is amazing, so I don't know. And that's all I really have for characters. So lastly, I'm just going to share a few miscellaneous thoughts that I couldn't think of another category for them, so I'm just going to go with it. So I really think it's interesting that each new version takes the story in a slightly different direction. Obviously, the animated film just kind of straightforward tells the story as most Disney movies do. And then the Broadway version and the live action version took the story in two different directions, and I thought was really cool. So the Broadway version just kind of develops the story that is already there. They don't really add too much, they just expand it. If you know what I mean, the difference between add and expand, like they don't add any plot points, they don't add characters, I guess they add characters, but they don't add like a ton to make it different. They just kind of take what's already there and expand it to develop it further. And then the live action version, you know, they added a lot of plot points, they added characters, they added the backstory, and I just think that both of those were really wise things for what they were trying to go for, and I think that it was really cool that they did that. But like, the thing that's like very poignant to me is Belle and her relationships, and that's like something that I would definitely say the Broadway musical does very well. I already mentioned that earlier, but like, the musical really develops like how Belle relates to other people. Like the obvious two are the Beast and Maurice. Like there's the song with Maurice, and then there's this other song to Maurice, and then you also like see more of the development in her relationship with the Beast. But there's also like with the enchanted objects, like Mrs. Potts is very much a mother figure to Belle in the Broadway musical, which I think is really cool since her mother is no longer with her, and I just really appreciate that. But with the back to the live action and the plot points, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place a little here. I really appreciated that the live action version filled in some plot holes. I really appreciated the way that right from the beginning, they're like, the Enchantress made the townspeople forget their loved ones in the castle, like forget the castle exists. I thought that was really wise, because that was, I know it's a big critique of the animated movie. And as I said, I really love the Beast's backstory. I also really enjoy the like Belle's mom's backstory. I thought that was really interesting, and I know that the scene with the book is super weird, but yet again, I think this is an unpopular opinion, but I thought it was really a fun being a weird word for it, but I just really enjoyed that scene. I thought it was really great, and I really appreciated it. And also the library in the live action version. We're going to talk about this for a second. The library in the town being like a one shelf with like 6 books. I really liked that, how like it had such a strong, stark contrast with the Beast's massive library, which then also like heightened that reaction that I talked about earlier that I loved so much. I just thought that was really a good interpretive choice to make the library so small, so she like really didn't have anything to read. So for the first time when the Beast gave her his library, she had like so much to read. I thought that was really special. So I can't talk about Beauty and the Beast without mentioning the cinematography. I'm just going to talk about the live action film for a second here, but cinematography is brilliant. They did such a good job, and like, yet again, spoiler if you haven't seen it, I loved the scene at the end when the enchanted objects fully turn into objects. I was sobbing, like full-blown sobbing in the theater at that scene. It was so poignant. It was such a beautiful, haunting scene, and like partially just like dialogue was really good, but also like that was largely due to the way that they did the cinematography for it, and it was just brilliant. And yet again, that was one of my favorite things of the live action film. The cinematography in general, the live action film, is one of my favorite things. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, just real briefly before I close out this video, is what is my favorite version of Beauty and the Beast. If you have any guesses, go ahead and just pause it and type it to see if you're right. Yeah. So my favorite version of Beauty and the Beast is the Broadway version. I love the way that it's developed. I love the songs. Obviously, when I went through my top 5 favorite songs, most of them were songs that were just in the Broadway musical. I just thought that was really, the way that the musical does it is very beautiful and special in a way that the other two aren't. I love the other two. And like the animated Beauty and the Beast is my favorite of the Disney princess movies. Like, don't get me wrong, I adore the animated, and I really like the live action for the most part too, though it is my least favorite of the 3. I just think that the Broadway musical just has like an extra special portion that the other two don't have, and like Belle's kindness being so important to me immediately made it so that the live action couldn't be my favorite, and that's actually the main reason it's my least favorite, because like some of the interpretive choices that they went and changed and developed I liked a lot in the live action version. Like, I love all 3 in their own way, but like when I think about Beauty and the Beast, I mostly think about the musical version. There's something very special about it, and I really love it, and I really wish it was still on Broadway, and I really wish I could go see it with a professional cast, because it's such a special, beautiful show that I want to experience in every way possible. So that's really all I had today. So if you want to check out that playlist I talked about earlier, I'll have that linked down in the description below along with my social media accounts. And just let me know, what is your favorite version of Beauty and the Beast, and what was the biggest letdown and the biggest thing that made you happy in the 2017 version. Biggest letdown, other than Belle's kindness for me, was that there was not a scene about like revealing the Beast's name, because honestly I really wanted to see like, what is your name anyway? Like, that would have been so much greater than like the beard thing. Like, that would have been great. Anyway, I hope you have a really lovely day, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye!